Alright, let's take a look at this. We got the last Red Wing. New character, Sayador. Sayador's ability pool is White Magic 5, Combat 5, Support 4, Knight 5. That is a good array of stuff. He's a pure paladin like Beatrix with the White Magic 5. The Support 4 is a nice little touch. Mostly for breakdowns and assisting through that, but also for Wrath in case you need it, and in case Life Siphon's a bad thing, but it's mostly for breakdowns. Let's see his equipment pool: dagger, sword, spear, and bow, like Daddy. It's fine. RMs, medium chance of becoming a Suna. Sucks. Small defense resistance up when equipping heavy armor. Sucks. Record spheres, nothing crazy. Balance changes. Palamaporum can use light armor. I don't know if these balance changes are in the game yet. I'm gonna go check right now. The balance change for adding Palamaporum being able to use light armor is already in the game. So, that's one of the many things that we get. We usually get buffs like that before Japan would have otherwise. So, let's go take a look at the banners. We got Kane with his OSB. It is armor with a small fire damage reduction. That is as much a bad thing as it is a good thing. Elemental resistances do not stack, so a minor reduction in fire damage is 15%, which is pitiful. It will only be useful on fights where the boss does multi-element damage, so you can throw a different type of resistance accessory on him that doesn't cover fire, so give him major lightning resist and you resist lightning and fire. But if you're trying to resist fire damage in a fight, then you're going to want him with at least a moderate or above resistance item, which would cancel out his armor, so it's not terribly great. And Realm Synergy, small ice reduction. Whatever. Multiplier scales with number of Dragoon abilities used. Which is okay. Definitely not good without his BSB. Luckily, his BSB does occur on the banner as well. Because Dragoon abilities aren't something you chain together. You know, they take a while to ramp up. They have the jump time. So I suppose you could use Blood of the Dragoon and another Dragoon ability, but it takes a while to use and get that up to speed. So you'd want his BSB, and you'd want a full fight of using his BSB to charge that up and then use it at the end of the fight, where OSB should be used. Enhancer sword, we have Sayador's Burst Soul Break. Definitely the best relic on the banner. It's a mind sword, always like to see those. Holy Cross, 8 single target, gives a 40% Medica. 40% max HP Medica to the entire team on cast. That's always welcome. Very, very helpful during fights. Takes a lot of pressure off your healers and allows them to use their crazy ability pools for some good besides spamming Kiraja or Ultra Cure over and over again. For commands, we have Heal One Ally for 25% of their max HP, and that is on a 4x single target wholly non-elemental attack, so it's a good attack, and a very, very useful utility runner on it. So really like this so far, and it gets even better with the second, where he has an AoE attack, which is great, and it as soon as a random ally that has a status on them that can be cleared with Asuna. So this is the ultimate paladin utility burst, and it is the best part of Sayador, and it's what makes him an A-tier knight. Some would even say yes, due to how unique and useful it can be. He's not. I only rated him A because there will be fights where it significantly reduced usage, but still there are many fights where this is super useful. Do not use Sayador on Unalesca. Or at least don't use Asuna. I mean, everything else about it's good. Then we have Yang's BSB. I know you see the word Yang, and you think, wow, this is bad. But, sorry to disappoint. But Yang's actually really good once he gets his Burst Soul Break. It's an elemental version of the Master from Final Fantasy I's Wild Mode. I don't know what they call it in Global. Let's see. Yeah, we're still calling it Wild Mode in Japan. So what it is, it's a Monk Burst that sacrifices defenses for being able to half cast speed and get more hits on your first attack. So you have a 5-hit after you use the Wild Mode command. You have a 5-hit first command, which does a lot of damage, plus it's augmented by the N-Earth status on the burst. In some ways this is better than Master, in some ways it's not. Master's differences are he gives himself Last Stand, which is a really nice benefit, especially because you're going to be giving yourself minus 40% defense and resistance, and Master's non-elemental, so it's useful on Omni-Resist fights. However, due to the N-Earth and the plus 50% damage that he's going to be getting on his first command, half cast speeding and then going crazy with your first command is going to at least output more damage than Master is able to against a neutral or Earth vulnerable target. Unbound Fury is what we're calling it? Okay. I like that. It definitely exudes an aura of recklessness, which is nice. Master gets self-crit too. Well, that's totally cool. Anyway, it's a very high damage burst. And a nice to see on the banner. Especially because it's a rare element too. Alright, we have the old Able Lance for Kain, his Burst Soul Break. It is a plus lightning damage up spear. And since Kain does not have any access to anything better than this yet, I'll talk about the yet in a second, this would be his weapon of choice cross-realm, because it's plus lightning damage spear, which you can augment and use for him. Why you may not want to augment it if you're going to for a super souped up Kain is if you're pulling on the Final Fantasy 13 event that is coming, which has Lightning's USB on it, which is a plus lightning damage 6-star native sword, so it's like 170 attack and lightning plus, which Kain can also use since he can use swords. The burst itself is very good. It's not terribly good by itself. The 4 times AoE is kind of disappointing. There will be many times where you cap out that 4 times AoE. You wish you could get more attacks. Having a cap of 40,000 damage is unfortunate. The commands by themselves, only 2 times single target for both of them. The instant jump 2 may or may not be useful for you. Depends on what speed you play on, because of the way jump timings are handled. The faster speed you play on, the faster the speed of jumps happen while other events are going on during the fight. But almost certainly the Smart Ether is going to be a useful command, because this opens up Kain to being able to use all Dragoon abilities, and they don't need to be high honed. So though he is a lightning Dragoon, he can also effectively use Sky High, the 6-star ability, and it doesn't have to be well honed because you have a Smart Ether. So he's definitely a lightning primary, but wind secondary Dragoon because of it. And it works perfectly with his OSB. And that's nice to see, having that combo on the same banner. We have Sayador's Force Armor, 7 We get small ice reduction, whatever. Small lightning damage reduction on realm synergy, also whatever, don't care. 5 times AoE, gives him Unholy. So this is a nice addition to Sayador's kit. If you're able to use both of them together, I'd say this is more of a definitely a full throttle Torment thing, because though he does have support for, the utility of his burst is so nice that it's something you want to cast when you can cast it, so you can just get that that command 1 pumping and helping out your team. So by delaying a cast of both of them, so you could use your Unholy and then cast his burst, then you're probably not gonna. You probably don't want to do that, just because it loses a lot of the cool utility of his burst. But it is a nice supplementary or complementary soul break to have for full throttle and Torment. Edward's Soul Harp isn't a bad magic and mind buff. However, Edward is not a particularly good character until he gets his USB. When then he turns into a good character. So it's, I don't know, something to stow, but it doesn't really have any synergy with the banner. Yang's Imperil Earth does have synergy with the banner. It's nice complementary to his Cat Claws, which you will use in full throttle and torment situations most likely, unless you wanted to life siphon up 2 bars and then use this and then that. But I don't know. I think that's not great. Sid 4, we have his Imperil Lightning. It's fine. I think the hammer itself is plus lightning damage, but it's a hammer. There aren't many people, not named, I guess, Raijin and Sid 4 that can use this relic to much effect, so not that big of a deal. I did not pull on Yuna's Ultra. I do not like the banner at all. And Divine Favor for Rosa. This is the worst Medica in Final Fantasy IV. However, if you do not have a Medica in Final Fantasy IV, this, while bad, could be a godsend for you. So I'll look at the banner in its entirety after taking a look at Banner 2. We have the return of Cecil's Ragnarok on Banner 1. This is a fine Holy Sword. It's holy damage up all realms. And it's the basic overflow, which a 12x multiplier. And it's fine. Lower attack, but I mean, what's 3 attack on a weapon? Who cares? Palom's BSB is probably the best relic on this banner. Yeah, I'd say so. What's good about Palom's Burst Soul Break? We usually shy away from multi-elemental stuff because it usually either does one element good and the rest bad, like Shantoto's, or it does all elements bad, like Lulu's. However, Palom has a mechanic hooked onto his Burst Soul Break that allows him to do very well with all the elements. The additional effect, the conditional, is +2 hits when the target is weak to one of the elements, and that carries over into the burst commands as well. So we have 4 times single target, 4 times single target, fire thunder, ice thunder. So it's primary lightning, but whatever, you can hit any of these elements with it, and grants instant magic 1 if target has weakness or imperil. That is the same little effect that Sid Reigns has on his first command. The only difference here is Palom has the ability to use this on 3 different elements instead of Sid Reigns' 2. And this is really nice because this boosts the damage to an acceptable degree for all 3 elements. So it's not focusing on one, and it's making all 3 much better. So this is actually a pretty good Mage Burst. One moment, and take a drink. Alright. Next we have Porum's BSB. It's a Cura Medica, it's the H55. Party Magic Mind, 30% and Burst Mode. This is the exact same entry as Yuna's BSB 2, so that's a good start. Commands are 1 single target Cure Raise, and a normal Medica for second command, this really falls flat right here. The burst itself will always be okay since it's a Medica with a party buff, but its commands die here. Will always... I mean, Yuna's definitely the better character, but now Yuna just has a better version of this burst. So while it's okay, and it's fine for Final Fantasy IV, when you see bursts on a banner, you want them to be good in all realms. This is not really that desirable for all realms. Edge's BSB is good. It's a more single target focused version of Yuffie's burst. It doesn't have the Mug Bloodlust command, but that's okay. But it does single target and AoE, and that's the benefit you get over Yuffie's. Yuffie's has the Mug Bloodlust, but Edge's has 2 AoE instead, which is a really nice thing, because ninjas don't have any AoE water physical abilities. The only AoE ninja ability for physical is Doppel Blade, is that what it's called? And it sucks. It has a chance to apply sap. It's terrible. However, this is a danger relic because there is a much better than either of these banners, Final Fantasy IV event coming next that is dedicated to Edge and also has its BSB on it. So while this is a good burst, it's duplicated, and if you're thinking about pulling on this banner, then I would actually just instead consider pulling on that Edge and Rosa banner that will be coming next Final Fantasy IV event. We have Palam's old Asura Rod as a plus holy damage rod. Don't really care about that much, because most of the time you want that on people with mind capability, because there aren't many holy mages. I think there's Echo, and Palam can do it with a Super Soul Break, but it's basically Echo and Hope. I guess Cloud of Darkness and Sid Reigns too, so not terrible. Anyway, we have Holy Fire, Lightning, Magic Damage, Magic and Resistance by 50%. That's not a bad debuff. I would consider this a good complementary to his Burst Soul Break, so that's fine. That's a fine Super Soul Break. Edge's Super Soul Break, this has occurred a few times already, and I know there's a lot of these kicking around, but it is a good Super Soul Break. Also occurs on that Edge banner that's coming after this event, though. So again, this banner is probably just a skip for just about everybody, and making the Edge Rosa banner much better. Porum's Feathered Cap used to be a really cool, unique buff, because all of this is hidden behind a single status called Twin Star. Imagine that. So it stacks with everything. The only thing it wouldn't affect, and this is the problem with it, is even if it's a unique status, can it like theoretically stack with everything, even if critical buffs aren't they aren't additions. So say you use Aiko's Burst Soul Break and sets everyone's critical to 50%. It doesn't add 50% crit rate, it sets their critical rate to 50%. So using another crit buff doesn't add more crit rate to it, it just resets the crit buff to 50%. So they override each other, and all you're really doing is extending the duration. So cool Super Soul Break, but not that good anymore. It used to be neat. Sid's Gloves, we have Hyper Break, was fine for submissions. Would prefer if this was together with his Imperial Lightning, so a little off there, but it's still not bad, because Sid's a little better than I gave him credit for. But yeah, I don't know. I would consider this an overall miss, but fine for submissions. Tella's Last Gap. Tella stinks, and while Party Instacast 1 and Attack Magic 30% is a cool addition. You never want to use Tella. You just don't want to. So looking at these banners, I've already basically given you the gist on how I feel about Banner 2. There's a lot of overlap in strengths with the next Final Fantasy IV event, and this is markedly worse, compared to its contemporaries. We do have Cecil's OSB, but on that Edge Rosa banner, we have Cecil's BSB2, which really helps define Cecil and what he does as a knight. It's a huge tank relic, while this is just dealing damage. I'd prefer, as a 6-star, I'd prefer Cecil's USB instead. It just does so much more, like 6,000 HP stock. So, I don't know, there's only so many things you can do with Cecil, and this is not one of the better ones. We have Palom. Palom is really the only reason to pull on this banner, if you like what Palom brings to the table, because it's hard to find those things together elsewhere. But we have 2 edge things, and we have a much better edge banner coming. And it turns him into one of the highest physical damage characters in the entire game. It's a really, really good banner. And just blows this one out of the water overall. This banner is much better, especially because there's no real overlap with the next event, because you get Kain and Theodore things, and they're 2 perfectly viable characters to shoot for, because I consider Theodore an A-tier knight and Kain an A-tier physical character. Kain's OSB, Kain's BSB work together very well. Theodore's BSB and Theodore's Super Soul Break work together well. And Yang's Burst Soul Break is very good, and that just gives you 3 solid Burst Soul Breaks, a good OSB that works with one of the Burst Soul Breaks on the banner, and a few decent complementary Soul Breaks. So this is definitely the better banner in the event overall. It just comes down to, do you want an Edge Rosa Cecil banner in the next event, which is just one of the better banners that we have access to, or do you want the Kain and Theodore banner, which is a good one. And Theodore's really cool. If you like playing with cool characters, Theodore's really cool, because no one can do what he does. He is the definition of a paladin, in that he's a healer knight. Beatrix pretends, but Beatrix is very much an offensive knight. Now, I did say Cecil's USB does have a 6,000 HP stock on it. I'll go take a look at it for you right now. It's not an amazing USB, but it's still pretty good. Now, Beatrix is not a legit healer. Beatrix can use Kiraja and Ultra Cure and Kirada, but there are many people in this game with White Magic 5. Beatrix is not legit. Healers are people that can Medica like Theodore can, that can passively heal like Theodore can, that can passively Asuna like Theodore can. A good mindset is not enough. So we have Paladin Cecil. This is Banner 4 of the upcoming Extreme Fest. And since Cecil's USB debuts here, it will be part of the Extreme Fest, no matter what. It's one of the few relics. You know the drill so far. If it debuts in a fest, then it's going to be there no matter what. So 10 single target, Holy Non-Elemental Physical, gives him Unholy, which is nice. Works together with his Burst Soul Break 2 very well. And because his Burst Soul Break 2 gives him Sentinel, doesn't give him Unholy. It's part of what makes him a cool tank, and this definitely builds into it. And Self X Mode Paladin gives him defense 100% and HP stock 6,000. It's pretty cool. It's a pretty cool USB.